Unlike today, when most of the wars are fought on the economic front, the 20th century was all about military might, and Soviets were not hesitant to advance their technologies. From flying sea monster to flying tank, hang on as we visit some craziest Soviet machines you won't believe existed. Caspian Sea Monster. This structure may appear to be mere ruins, but beware, because this was once a machine the world had ever seen. A flying boat? A swimming plane? You may struggle to find the right name for it, but in the 1950s, when the most powerful hydrofoils could not reach more than 110 kilometers per hour speed, this machine galloped the seas at an unbelievable 350 miles per hour. In the 1960s, when the leader of the Soviet Union bragged about the ships that could jump over bridges, gave birth to this miraculous machine. Khrushchev funded an ambitious project and team of Alexev. In just 5 years, went from these prototypes to this. And soon this massive flying monster that uses propellers was at last a reality. The flying tank. Tanks have undoubtedly a huge advantage. With all their power and might, they are detrimental in wars. But one thing always made them a disadvantage. They were difficult to be employed at a desired location. So, to cope with this problem, Oleg Antonov in 1942, just ahead of World War II, designed this incredible flying tank, which could literally glide itself and be ready to surpass all the limitations. This tank was basically attached with huge wings that can be deployed easily in case of wars. Bunkered by planes, it flew, and then it would glide smoothly to the battleground. While landing, its wings would automatically detach themselves, making it just a normal tank. But once the war was over, unfortunately, Antonov A-40 became all too irrelevant. 2B1 Oka. Just an incredible story of evolution. 2B1 Oka continues to stand out. The most feared 420mm nuclear artillery, it was the most strategic machine. During the Cold War, both America and Russia were invested in getting strategic success, and this Soviet machine feared them. I mean, who would not fear this self-propelled nuclear monster? Capable of firing up to 750-kilogram projectiles to a massive 45-kilometer range. And it became even deadlier when it could fire 12 times per hour. Before the invention of missile technology, this was a huge advantage and can prove highly detrimental in the state of war. So, this is the supernatural 2B1 Oka. Mendeleev tank. When it comes to supermassive tanks, we all expect them to be solid and sturdy with a barrel that can throw as far as it can. To be honest, there is nothing better than this unique Soviet Mendeleev, a 42 feet long and 32 feet wide tank that is built solid as it is protected by 100mm thick armor, providing unlimited strength. And that's not all. Because this weapon is slated with a deadly 120mm Cannet naval gun that can fire 57 rounds of ammunition, which is much, much larger than any other tank used in both World War I and World War II. But with all this strength and armory, it weighed a staggering 173 tons, making it much slower. With 165 horsepower, it could only reach 15 miles per hour. The laser tank. The 1K1 Schnikt was definitely a machine from the future, as unlike usual weapons, it did not use expensive bombardings. Instead, it used a light beam or laser to destroy the target. Once set on the target, it casually destroys the objective. It used an intense laser beam to knock down the optical electronic equipment of the vehicle. But it used expensive rubies to make this possible, which ultimately made this an expensive weapon. During the 1970s, this technology was developed in optimum secrecy. But with the collapse of the Soviet Union, the development of this exceptional machine was unfortunately abandoned. M15 Bellhonger. These ruins were once the most ambitious project of the Soviet Union, world's first jet-powered plane, which was built to revolutionize agricultural requirements. Designing and configuration of such a project was difficult, but the Polish company built their first prototype in May 1973, and it flew successfully. For some reason, they were persistent that they needed a jet-powered propeller for this aircraft, and this made its flight extremely expensive. As it flew, it was a nice-looking design and was able to function perfectly fine. Even then, till 1976, issues could not be resolved. Hence, the project was abandoned in the end. The ZVM-2901. These turning screws and this unbelievable ZVM-2901, a Soviet relic, when it comes to unforgiving terrains, muck and swamps, and it looks impossible to navigate. There is no one that can save you but this incredible machine that not only treads on thick muddy waters but gallops water and traverses snow as well. With 159 horsepower and F3.8 engine, it moved with power. In the 1970s, Russian engineers designed this incredible truck with underside turning screws to overcome terrain challenges. But before production could start, the USSR fell. Nevertheless, this machine is definitely one of the craziest. The Mammoth Plane. 1903 was the year when the Wright brothers made a revolutionizing discovery by flying the first aeroplane. And in 1930, just 27 years later, the Soviets made this. It was gigantic and it was huge. Konstantin, Soviet aviator, designed and created this mammoth with twin booms and large underwing pods. It was something unbelievable. Huge enough to carry 120 passengers and 7,000 kilograms of mail. And that's not all. It was a warfare weapon with 8 20mm autocannons and 8 machine guns. With this huge space and powerful engine, it could carry about 10,000 kilograms of bombs as well. Yakolov Y-36. Graceful as it soars with wings slicing the skies and taking off like that. 21st century's modern aircrafts are undoubtedly beyond belief, but it all starts from here. Yakolov Y-36. This is the world's first vertical takeoff. Alexander, a Soviet aviation engineer with his team, spent years to find a way for a plane to take off with minimum distance, and he came up with an ambitious idea where high-pressure air throttle was used to take the plane in the air. This is the remarkable footage of the first prototype taking its flight. Today, the American most advanced F-35B fighter also uses the same principle to vertically take off. Kharmov Ka-22. Speed, power, strength, and reliability. That's Kharmov Ka-22. In the midst of the flaming Cold War, when Soviet government felt the need to have a helicopter that is not just powerful to carry bulky ballistic missiles, but also able to cover long distances, Kharmov came up with an ambitious design. Unprecedented and strange, but perhaps the only way to meet the requirements. So, in 1950, he built a twin-rotor copter with distinctive functions, with 2 large engines attached to these large propellers. It allowed it to vertically take off. The horizontal propeller would be disconnected, but instantly switches on when it needs to move forward. With this mechanism, a 5,900 horsepower engine takes the machine to an incredible 356 kilometers per hour. Sukhoi T-4. With the increasing power of U.S. aviation, the Soviet government aimed to develop an aircraft analogous to the North American XB-70 Valkyrie. With promising Sukhoi design and incredible aerodynamics, even the impossible speed of 2,600 miles per hour was reachable. This was faster than any plane ever built in Russia. But with this sleek shape, it was difficult to control this plane while taking off and landing. They intentionally used a movable nose that could be lowered to increase visibility. Once the aircraft reached the speed of 370 miles per hour, it was retracted back. This was unconventional, yet effective. This was definitely one of the most incredible designs in aviation history. And now let us move on to our subscriber pick of the day. This image was sent to us by a subscriber. Similarly, if you ever wish to know more about an image you come across, just send it to us. Who knows? We might even feature it in one of our videos. Robust power, stability, and incredible design. That's the exceptional MIL Mi-10. It is almost a flying crane, as it is purposely built to load even the impossible and cumbersome weight. Very useful in case of emergencies and transportation. It is a fine example of how they loved innovation and experimentation. See you next time!